Okay, got it to work. Excellent. So just a note, I am still trying to figure out how to get the Facebook live streaming stuff to work. If I'm going to keep doing this, I'm probably going to see if I can switch to a different platform that does not lock up and take forever to load. Hi, Christy. I was just saying, I'm still experiencing technical difficulties every time I get the stream to start on the Facebook platform. For some reason, it just will not load past the original thing unless I switch to an older version of it. So I may, if I'm going to keep doing this, switch to a different hosting service, but I'll let you know. Good morning. Hi. Nice to see you, or rather see that you exist. I have more glass to unpack, so if you want to see pretty glass, you're in the right place. And I've got my camera, and there's still enough battery on it. Just spent the last 10 minutes, hello, arguing with my computer over whether or not I was going to be able to do this. So, yeah. In case you're wondering, this is my notepad where I've been designing my patchwork panels that I'm going to be starting to make relatively soon. So keep an eye out. These are also the patterns I've been starting to put into the glass. But yeah, just let me set this out of the way. Hi, Jana. Oh, wow, people are actually joining and watching this. This is exciting. So I have a chair today, which is an improvement over yesterday, and I have glass that needs to be unrolled. So I have 3 boxes of glass over here that hopefully I will be able to get through in the next couple of hours so that I can show you all the shiny things that I've been making and so that I can see what I actually have here, because I brought all of my glass back from the university for the duration of however long this Easter break that never ends will actually be. So the first thing that I have to show you is this. I'm just going to toss my... So this is one of the pieces I made, tape. When I put everything out for assessment, I put pieces of tape on the bottoms of them with labels so my professors would know what they were. Didn't take those off yet. Anyway, so this is one of the early pieces I did last term. It's a solid color bubble vase form, and then it's had the Marini or glass tiles rolled up on the side of it, and not really much else has been done to it aside from just opening the top of it. It's not my best work, but I'm still really proud of it. And the pattern here you can see is kind of a flying geese triangle sort of pattern I was going for. There's a little bit of the kiln shelf stuff stuck on it from when we were making it, but it was one of my first tests that actually worked well. And when you see some of the other pieces I made, this is the one that was one of the early tests that led to making those. So yeah, there's that. Just going to take a couple pictures of it, and then I will get the next thing out of the box. And if any of y'all who are watching have questions about what I do, anything else, I will start by saying hello again. I am Katie Silverwings, otherwise known as Katie Hinton from Floyd County, Texas. And I am a glassblower and patchwork artist. I am currently holed up in my apartment in Farnham in the UK because the university studios are closed because of, well, you know, worldwide pandemics and all that. So I'm making the most of my time at home. I've set up a piece of fabric here for a makeshift photo studio, and I'm taking pictures of all of my glass I made the last year or so that I can use those photos on my website and all of my other things that I have been tasked with doing for my degree, and also so that I can see what exactly I've made so that I know where to go with it. So I'll just start with this piece, and then as soon as I get pictures taken of this one, I will set it to the side and get out another piece from my pile of boxes of glass. And if y'all have any questions, do let me know. I am gonna have to move the chair for taking pictures. It's petty. All right. My goal with doing the live stream like this is partially so that I can have the illusion of company, and partially so that I can show all of you what I've been up to and what I've been making, because a lot of these pieces are things that I have not posted anywhere yet. And more than that, they're things that I think bring a little bit of joy into the world, and we could all use a little bit of distraction and shiny, beautiful things in our lives right now. Just gonna take a couple close-ups. Oh wow, it looks like the whole Abilene crowd is on here today. Hi guys. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I'll show it to you once again for everyone who just now got here. It's kind of wearing a shawl. Now this was one of my early tests with making the pattern pieces and then sticking them onto the outside of a glass form. It also is still sharp at the bottom a little bit, which is why I have not taken pictures of it yet, because I was waiting to grind the bottom of it so it wouldn't be sharp, but that's going to have to wait possibly a couple months. I have a little bit, but at the moment I don't really have any lighting options in my house. I don't have any lamps or things, so I have these lovely lights above me, and then the sun is shining and I have a window. So I'm actually getting relatively decent pictures with this setup because I've got window light coming from one side and this kind of angled light from above. So hopefully they'll be decent pictures for now, but thank you. Yes, when I'm taking pictures in the studio on campus, I'm much more specific about where the lights are and how they're going, but the documentation I'm doing right now, I need nice pictures, but I can't really be fussy about it because I don't have the resources to do that. Still gonna do stuff. Possibly. It's actually bouncing off of the back here. The angle that you're seeing it at, you're seeing it with the light above, and I'm shooting from right here, so I've got kind of two angles going on like that, almost. But I will try that out at some point. I have some nice natural diffusion going on because even though the window looks incredibly bright because of the camera settings, it's actually a nice cloudy day, and it's this relatively diffused light that's coming in. Let me see if I can. I am getting some highlights on things, but that's sort of the best I can do right now. But it's better than me taking pictures of them with my phone on the table without the light. So it'll work. Thank you, though. All right, so I'm gonna set the camera down, set this down, get the rest of my things here. And so this bag is full of glass wrapped in newspaper from when I brought everything home off of my 2 shelves at the university and out of the studios, which took forever. So this is what I'm going through first. I'll set that on my chair since I'm not sitting in it. So let's move the camera out of the way for a second. Move my glass of water here. So this is, yeah, it's actually not that hard to do. This is literally just a piece of white cotton fabric that I have for my patchwork side of my project and a few pieces of tape. I'm very fortunate that my table is in the right spot to make a DIY infinity table without much trouble, but it is possible, and as long as you've got a good depth on it, it seems to work pretty well for getting good photos. So this piece is one of my test pieces from this term. Really proud of this one. So this is the sort of thing I'm making for my main project. Let me see if I can, you can kind of see here. So the idea is that all of those patterns are on the bottom of the glass object. And it kind of looks like it's a perfume bottle or some other liquid containing vessel. This was one of my first 3 tests that I did this term, making a piece where I would have, if you imagine that this is glass, actually, one moment. There are those. So I start with tiles like this. These are some that I've made that I haven't shown anyone yet. So these are glass solid color that I've made into pattern tiles, or marini is what we call them as glass blowers. And these are set up next to each other on a plate and preheated for me while I make a bubble. So they're all squished together, so they're kind of like this, except, you know, 500-600 degree glass. And then I take a glass bubble and dip it onto the end of that wrap it up. Once that's all wrapped in, I gather over it with more clear glass and then eventually shape it into the form I want. So this was one of my first tests of doing that this term, and it actually turned out really nice. I had help from our lovely, now former technician at the university. Thank you. So this has a bubble down inside it, and this was a test of putting swirled colors in clear glass and solid colors together. So you can see inside it, there's lots of different angles where you can see the patterns. I have to be aware of where the camera is. This is kind of weird. So you can see some of those same patterns. And these were all leftover marini from my project last term when I first started making them. So I used leftover ones of those, and these are the ones for my final pieces when I finally get to make my final pieces. So I've come away from actually doing the swirls with the solid color, just for how much time it takes me to swirl the color into the solid glass. But I still have a few of those around, and I do still enjoy working with them. So you can, again, from different angles, the patterns change, and it's really nice and light. And this one, like a lot of for those of you who may have seen me yesterday, when we're grinding the bottoms of glass so that things sit nicely and are flat and polished, a lot of times glass blowers go through and we will put a layer of Sharpie over the rough surface so that when we're grinding it and polishing it, we can make sure we've got that whole surface layer off. Since a lot of these were in process, they all have black Sharpie on them, and so that they don't leave blackish purple marks on my table, I have to clean that off, and I forgot to get my rag to do that, so I will be right back. Just gonna set this gently here while I do that. All right, so. Oh, so it's just like with anything else, it's just a little bit of glass cleaner. I just have to get enough of it off so that it doesn't make marks when I'm turning it. Yesterday, this turned my hands purple, but you can see it's coming off already. There still will be kind of a haze of purple left in the ground surface here because it's not perfectly polished, but a little bit of glass cleaner, Sharpie comes right off. No, what's happening with my course? So, as far as I have been told, we're still on track to graduate. And if we can get back in the studios, they will be very happy to have us make finished pieces and continue on with that. They're aiming to have an online graduation show for us at some point. And they have said that we will be graded either on finished work or on all of the development work that we've done leading up to that, because the university is trying to be very understanding with the fact that with my course in particular, some of our ceramicists can work from home because they have pottery studio stuff at home. Jewelers can potentially work at home depending on what they're doing. But in all of our medium, I mean, we have most of our things involve fire and are not the sort of things that landlords like you doing in their properties. For example, glass is a messy, messy thing to work with when you're grinding and finishing it, which is why I'm not going to be finishing any of these until I'm going back to the university. And the glass blowing setup for doing blown glass is incredibly involved and expensive because furnaces have to be running all the time. And all the furnaces I normally work with here and at the studio I work at on the weekends are actually empty right now and shut down because it would damage the furnaces to shut them down with glass in them, and they can't be left running for weeks on end with no one working. So we're getting somewhere with that. Anyway, so just going to show y'all this one more time, and then I'm going to take some pictures of it. I do like how this turned out. The colors are kind of all over the place because they were leftover pieces, but ultimately they seem to be working. And again, if y'all have any questions about what goes into making stuff, I love talking about glass and I will answer to the best of my ability. Yeah, I think this all is kind of reminding me a bit of when, to answer in response to Nancy talking about courses doing have different approaches, that is kind of what's going on. It really reminds me of when I was being homeschooled. If I could at all have my work displayed physically in person, I would prefer that because glass does not look nice in photos compared to how it looks in person. And my course mates are working on talking to the university on behalf of ourselves to see if they'll let us have a physical show at some point. But I'm not getting too angry about things that I don't really have much influence over, and I'll eventually take this stuff and show it somewhere. Just have to keep going. I'd rather have an in-person show if we could, but if all that we can do is online, then I will do my best to do that as nicely as I can. Forgot how pretty this purple was. All right, so one more look at the shiny thing, and then I will get the next thing out of my bag of mystery. See if I move the lights a little bit better. I've adjusted the white balance in this. I can't remember. I used to shoot in RAW, but then my computer at the time wouldn't handle it. Let's see. I believe if this camera is very old, so nope. Not going to do that. I shoot not in RAW, but in the largest JPEG I can, just because, yeah, it's actually not doing that. I've adjusted the white balance to compensate for this, and if it is a little bit tinted, I'm going to go in and adjust that later. I've had this camera for almost 10 years, and I still haven't ever had the time to really get into what all it does. But a lot of it is just, for the longest time, I did not have memory cards that could handle a lot of RAW files, so I have to compensate for that. But it's going to be enough for my website, and hopefully someday I will be able to take much nicer photos of everything elsewhere. Get all the dirt off this. All right, so smaller one this time. So this is one of the clear pieces that I've made as test forms, practicing pulling the long stems on things. You can see it's that same sort of a long shape. James, I just might take you up on that. If you do want to help me edit and retouch things, I might take you up on that. If I ever finish taking photos of things, because I've been at this for about 3 days now, taking photos of everything in my house as I'm putting them away. Not all of that's going to actually be used, but I'm trying to make sure I remember what's in all the boxes for when I eventually pack. So yeah, so I am going to clean the Sharpie off of the bottom. You can really see there the texture of the ground. I will. The ground surface with the Sharpie on it. So just let me clean that off. These clear pieces are actually really useful for the project I'm doing as well, because the whole concept is in part about kind of drawing the pattern up, the quilt patterns up as reflections. So I think this will work. So if I set, this is one of my patchwork patterns that I'm using for some things. So if I set this about here, you should be able to see. Actually, it works better with a different lens. Let me show you what I'm talking about before I take pictures of this. So this beastie is one of my bigger pieces, but you can kind of see how the pattern reflects up into the bottom of it. That's a big part of what I'm doing with the vessels I'm making for the project, is trying to make it look like the pattern is being contained in or projected up onto the glass. So yeah. So yeah, ta-da. Hair on my face. All right, so that one can go down here. Underneath my table, there is so much glass right now. Yeah. So this is another one of my heavy ones. And it is one of the first 3 tests that I did earlier this term. And this one was of putting the, I'm gonna move the camera out of the way of the heavy glass. So this one is a piece that has just solid glass color in the bottom. Some of it's transparent, some of it's opaque. And this was one of the first ones that effect. James, in answer to your question, I don't know. The only time I've left my house since Tuesday when I carried all this glass up was this morning when I took my trash out, because I don't really like going to the shops in a regular day because there's too many people there for me. So as it is, I'm kind of just avoiding things. And there's a very good reason I stay away from the Farnham residents page, because I like positivity in my world. So yeah, I don't really know. It looks like the traffic's a bit less than usual outside my window, and I've only seen a handful of people walking back and forth. But for the most part, I can't really give you much intelligence on what's going on in Farnham because, to be honest, I don't know. Anyway, so shiny thing. You can see in this one, the bubble is a bit smaller and it really projects the pattern upward. And you can see down at the bottom one of those log cabin tiles, which looks really small inside this when it's being reflected, but is actually, well, you can't see all of it because of the Sharpie, but it's actually quite large. So I was really pleased with this one, except for the fact that the neck did not pull the way I wanted it to. So once again, it kind of looks like an angry avocado shape. Anyway, just give me a second to clean the bottom off and I will take a few pictures of this and then we can see what else is in my bag. Because actually, I don't remember what I have in each of these boxes because I was flustered when I was packing everything. Someday I will take these back into the studios and polish them, and then they will be very nice. But for now, they're gonna have little hazy spots on the bottom from where they're not ground entirely. Hi, Roberta. And thank you for joining me, even if it's just briefly. So, yep, just gonna show that one for the camera one more time, see if I can show you a bit more of the inside of it. I love the reflections that I'm getting in these pieces, and that's a big part of the direction I've gone with the project since I made this thing. So next up, another. Hi, Liz. I'm glad you're enjoying this. I miss you too. So this is another interesting piece here. And this is another one of my clear tests. When I've practiced making forms, a lot of times they are in clear, and thank you, Jane, as well. So I've been making a bunch of clear forms like this, partially to practice so that I could get to the point where I could make things like this that have actually worked. So those clear pieces, though, are also now part of the main project because I'm working towards doing an installation of glass and fabric patchwork together. So having some clear pieces to reflect the patchwork in and around is going to be fun. And also it lets me use some of these pieces that I had made before, you know, they ladled the furnace out. You can really see it with this one where the pattern is projected upwards onto the inside of the bubble. And I just love that effect so much. You can come down here, the rest of the things. All right, I think I know what's in this, and I'm yes, another one of my early tests. It's just a tiny little clear thing, but I like it. It's got a nice rim. This little perfume bottle shapes is what I was going for, and more Sharpie. But yeah, since I'm cooped up in my nest and all of you are most likely cooped up in yours, I'm gonna just do this sort of hang out with me while I work on stuff sort of live stream pretty much every day until I'm allowed back in the studios, because it gives me something to do and a little bit of a routine, and hopefully y'all enjoy seeing what I'm up to and some of the shiny things that you may not have seen before. I'll try to get some more of the Sharpie off of that. So yeah. Again, a shiny thing. There we go. Now we get into more small packages. Some of these things I need to take more pictures of than others. These little things, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be one quick snap to document that it exists. Ah, yes, I know what you are. So whenever I'm working and I have a little bit of color left on the end of my iron when I'm making my tiles, I tend to turn that into a little bird. So yes, observe a small bird. This one's got a little bit of a red and white swirl in it because that's the pattern. I had been making a red and white pattern tile. You can see he's got a little beak, a little tail, and is generally a small bird. I like small birds. Bear with me, there will be quite a few of them as I start unpacking these boxes because this is the first one of the small birds that I have found, and I know that there's quite a few of them, but I have not found any of the others yet. All right, there we go. Once more. Little bird. I do enjoy making these. The swirl inside them is quite, it's quite fun. And I love the way the clear glass distorts everything around it. And this is another bird. This one's a little white bird. So I must have made him when I was making some white marine. He's got a cute little beak and just a little swirl of white color left on him. I do someday want to do an installation of some kind that's just lots and lots of little birds because they're cute. Let's see, white bird on white background. This is going to be interesting. I'll just take a picture of him on the patchwork so I can get a little bit more contrast. Cute. All right. So the other piece in here is one that would have been one of my final pieces, except for one small issue. Actually, several small issues because this one has some cracks in it. So I won't ever be able to do anything with this except keep it in a box somewhere like a squirrel because it's special. Anyway, so this is what my final pieces are starting to look like. So you can see it has that nice shape. And it has the patterned tiles that I've made in the bottom of it and a bubble at the top that is projecting the pattern up. Unfortunately, So when I made my tiles that are, I'm going to scooch it back so you can see. When I made these pattern tiles, a lot of the colored glass that I was using, the solid color bits, were mystery bits that people have given me that I don't necessarily know what they are. I can get a vague guess at the color, but I don't necessarily know what the manufacturer is. Which means that some of them, unfortunately, seem to be incompatible with the clear glass that we have in the hot shop on campus. So glass, for those of you who are still watching or who watch this later, glass is weird, and different kinds of glass melt, and they all melt roughly the same, but the problem is they don't all expand and contract the same way when they're heating up, cooling down, which means that if you have a piece of glass that contracts one way and a piece of glass that contracts another, and they're next to each other inside the same piece, it gets stressed. Again, there are better explanations of this out there, but if the glass is stressed or if the two pieces are incompatible, it causes cracks. And this is a good example of what cracks look like when you have one specific piece of color in your pattern that was incompatible and you didn't know it till you made a piece with it. Yeah, still a little bit upset about that one. You see these lines that look kind of like bubbles, those are actually cracks that go all the way through it, but because this is so thick, it hasn't broken yet, but it's not something that I could ever sell because it's kind of dangerous. These cracks could just suddenly decide they wanted to finish cracking. Actually, when I was talking to our ProTim technician about this piece and what had happened, I had initially thought one of them was a bubble, and then he said it was a crack. And then while I was holding the thing, showing it to him, several more cracks appeared. There are some things in glass we don't know if they're going to work until we get them out. There's also a crack down inside it. And as you can see, this pattern, let me see if I can show you exactly where it is. So right here, there's the camera, right here, this piece of translucent red glass here. It doesn't look very translucent, but I promise it's supposed to be. That's the one that's most likely the cause of these. It could have been annealed wrong, but the other pieces that I had in there with it did not do this. But this is the only one that had this set of tiles, which means that this dark red stripe is probably a glass body that's not compatible with our hot shop glass or with the glass colors next to it, and it will cause cracks. I'm going to probably test that and make a paperweight or something when I get back to uni and have a chance to. But other than that, I'm being much more careful now with what pieces I'm using to make my new Marini, because I don't want to go through the pain and hassle of making something beautiful and then have it do that to me. You can also see here this still has the foot on it. The foot here is temporary. That if this were not cracked and prone to potentially shattering, I would be having that cut off and then it would sit on its end, kind of like this. But with this one, I just have it for taking pictures of because sadly I can't really display it or use it for anything else. The life of a glass blower. Ah, there's a camera. I hid it from myself. Don't know who all is still watching, but thank you for sticking with me. I hope this is entertaining, or at least distracting. Again, any comments, questions, things you want me to talk about, please feel free to put that in the comments and I will address it. So yeah, this was actually the nicest shape that I made the day that I made these, but unfortunately it can't be one of my final pieces. I do have two nice ones though that came out that day, and they're somewhere in one of these boxes. So we will get to see them at some point. I'm gonna wrap this one back up though, just so that it doesn't have an opportunity to get glass elsewhere in my house. And I have absolutely no idea whether my internet connection is letting me broadcast this and anyone can actually see me or not, because I've just noticed it's sending me little event logs that say, hey, your video signal's not working. So that might explain why it seems quiet. Well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and hope that my internet connection fixes itself. Gonna have to sort this out. I may have to switch to a different platform to do this because I feel like the Facebook system is part of the problem here. I'll keep y'all posted on that. It'd be nice if, it looks like it's saying 2 people are looking at me now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can find a different setup for this. Anyway, back to the glass. For anyone who might be able to see me, sorry for the staring blankly at the computer for a minute, but it was trying to say that for some reason it wasn't getting signal from me, and I don't know whether that's my internet connection because this is an old building and the Wi-Fi is something I'm iffy here, or if there's something else going on with it. But anyway, gonna keep unwrapping glass. So next thing here got another small bird. Anyone who can still see me, do let me know, because I'm concerned about my internet connection not actually being up for this. So just let me know if you're still watching, because I can't tell. Still new to all this. Anyway, so this is a little bird. It looks black. It's actually, let's see if I can get it in the sunlight. No, it's actually purple. You can kind of see a little haze of purple there. Yeah, there you go. Purple. So got a little purple bird here that's made from a little bit of glass that was left over on the end of an iron after I was making some of my pattern tiles. Ah, hi Jackie. Observe the purple bird. And for the next thing, I have a feeling, so this is the box I'm going through right now. I have a feeling there are lots of birds in here because I made quite a few birds from leftover bits of glass, and I have not found them all yet. Yep, it's another bird. So this one's brown. It's got a pointy beak. It's got a little bit of a stripe here. Move out of the way so you can see the light. This little bird, kind of like a hummingbird. This one was a color test for this brown at the beginning of the year because color tests. At the time I was doing the swirled patterns, and you can't really see it because you can almost see it there. And the easiest way for me to test those is actually to just make a little bird with a twist in it, because these take me maybe 5-10 minutes really to shape. Anyway, let me just take a picture of him. And in this rolled up piece of newspaper, I think it's going to be another bird. It is. So this is a yellow bird. You can see kind of the rosebud sort of swirl there. You can really see the pattern in it on the bottom. This one's mostly polished. So yeah, another one of my color tests from earlier in the year when I was thinking I was going to make swirled patterns for things, and then I ended up doing solid ones instead, so I just have birds because I like little birds. It does. One of the colors, it's not this one, but one of the other yellows I used is actually called canary yellow because glass. Inventive. But yeah, so I've got this little one that's kind of like a chick. And this is probably another bird because it is small and lightweight. Ah, it is. So this one is purple. I don't know how well the lighting's going to show that it's purple, but black glass is actually usually a very dark green or a very dark purple in actuality. Let me see if I can move. You can kind of see a little hint of the purple there, hopefully, just right where my finger is. But yes, so this is another little bird. Again, I make these with the leftover little tiny bit of color when I'm making my pattern bars. So, because I don't like wasting the color, and I really enjoy making little birds. All right, so this is a heavier one. Let's see what it is. Oh, hey, it's another bird. And this one is pink and yellow together. And it has some nice bubbles in it that are some of the nicest bubbles I've made with one of these. So yeah, this was a test of swirling pink and yellow together. And it's really cute. I'm very happy with it, also with the bubbles in it. And you can see the swirl in there is really nice. Its tail's kind of fun too. It's kind of a mockingbird shape, I guess. The birds all have really nice little personalities. And they're all just a little bit different. So yeah, once again, little pink and yellow bird with nice bubbles. I am glad I'm getting to show you all this stuff, because there's a lot of this that's just going to sit in a box for quite some time until I'm back in the States, and then I will be having to find homes for things then. But right now, it just gets to live with me. The birds are going to go sit in all over the place around here. Oh, this one is a bird. This is a big bird. This is that canary yellow. It's more of an orange, yes, I know, and it's got some speckles, but bubbles. And yeah, so big yellow bird. And you can see that nice swirl in there as well. Bird. Someday I'm going to figure out how to give them wings, but right now I'm just going off of the beak and tail model. Yeah, I guess so. Just lots of little chicks here. Let's see. There we go. 2 chicks. I'm running out of places to set the birds. Let's see. Wonder what this is going to be. Oh, yes, I know what this is. So this is something I made last semester, and it's just a pretty shiny clear thing with lots of interesting bubbles in it. So when we gather the glass out of the furnace, if there's any soot on the end of the iron we're using, it can make bubbles, and that's what happened with this. But oh my goodness, they're such nice bubbles. So I kept this and I've polished the bottom of it so that I can use it to do reflections. So you can kind of, I don't know how well that's going to show, kind of the magnification. Let's see, if I hold it like this, You can kind of see how that magnifies and moves the pattern depending on where it is. So that's one of the things I'm playing with this term. And luckily I already have a cool little thing to play with it. And I love the bubbles in this. The bubbles are so much fun. Oh, that's fun. So I'm going to show you the picture that I just took so you can see better what I'm talking about with this. If I hold this up like that, you can kind of see that's the sort of interesting reflection effect that I'm starting to play with these. So back to unwrapping things now. Again, I do hope that whoever is watching this is enjoying it, because I'm enjoying having people to talk to, even though I don't know if anyone's actually listening. It's just nice. Ah, here we go. Liz, if you're still there, it's a tiny chick. This is that same yellow as that big one I showed you a while ago. It has some nice bubbles in it. It's just small. I do like the smaller ones, I think. I really enjoy making those because they're so fast to make and they're so cute. They tend to look like hummingbirds when they're small, and I really like that. So these are the same color. See? Tweet, tweet. Birds. Yeah, thank you, Liz. I don't mind the cooped up so much, if only because I have a lot of work I need to do that I can do here, like the large scale patchwork banners I'm going to be making and, you know, photographing things and doing all of my written work. But I do miss being in the studio so much. And it's kind of getting to stay home is nice, but having to stay home does grate on you after a while, which is why I'm talking to the internet now. But it's nice to know people are watching or just are interested in the shiny things that I've been making. I'm looking forward to the day I can bring my shiny things back to Abilene and have a show there and let everyone see the stuff that I've gotten up to the last 3 years. So hopefully that will be a thing that happens. Little bird, you go there. Big bird, you go down there. How much you want to bet this is another bird? It's a little package. I also have to say I'm enjoying this because I'm getting to see names of all these people I haven't heard from or seen in literal years. But it's nice to know y'all also have an interest. So this is another little white bird. It's a little baby dove. This one has a nice strategic bubble where its eye would be. Birds. Once I get all these birds unwrapped, I need to just set them all out so you can see what I'm talking about with the I have made lots of birds thing. For Christmas, I actually made a bunch of birds to take back for my mom and different friends of hers that she had requested I make her something to take for. So I spent an afternoon in the hot shop and somehow ended up with one more bird than I remembered having made. But, you know, birds. And speaking of little birds, it's another tiny yellow one. This one has a little bit of yellow on his head. And he's got a really nice swirl in him. Tweet. I wonder. It's not too bad. Little bird on patchwork. Doesn't reflect too nice though, so I'm not going to take a picture of it. Looks like my internet connection is still struggling with this, but the video will be up for people to watch if you have an interest in watching me unwrap glass later on when you can't actually talk to me, which is fine with me. I just like putting something interesting out there, hopefully interesting out there, for people to spend some time with hopefully a friendly voice. Because, you know, we're all cooped up. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. This, guess what? It's another bird. This one has a little bit of that purple in it and a little bit of white. So it's, and I twisted it a slightly different way. So it's got a ribbon in it that really curls around. And you can actually kind of see the purple here. Also, it has a big bubble. But yeah, so I really, really enjoy making these. The twisting up little bits of color and making birds with them is something I would love to do just for the fun of it. I really want to do something someday where I just fill a space with lots of little birds. Because people like the little birds, I hope. This one's actually polished on the bottom so you can see all the ribbons. Yes, I did make the glass that I'm drinking out of. It is still one of my favorite things I've made because it's nice to drink out of. Just gonna set that over here though so it's out of the way. Scoot you back a little bit. So maybe you can see more of me. I'm pretty sure this is another bird. There's a theme going on here. Huh. It's an even tinier yellow bird. This one has a little bit of the solid yellow that I'm using for some of my patterns in it. This is a cute little indication of a bird. This one's tail's a bit big, but I think they're cute. Okay, so the color, let me grab a bit and I'll show you. The color is actually glass, and it either comes in what we call a frit, which is crushed glass, so it makes spots like this, or it comes in a powder form, but what I'm using for my patterns that I'm making is solid color. So the little birds like this one that I just showed. So this is a little bit of the solid color that was on the end of the iron after I made something with this. This is glass. It looks black. It's actually, I think this is blue. You can't really see because solid, except maybe a little bit at the edge there. There's just a tiny hint of blue. Most translucent colors look black when you get them in the rod form, and then you have to remember which pieces are what, because once you've taken the labels off of them, it's kind of hard to tell, and some of them do look similar. So it is glass. It's got different chemical impurities in it that have made it that color, and which is why some colors of glass for us glass blowers are more expensive than others, because some of them have gold and copper and different metals in them. And in this case, this is just a little yellow bird, and it started off as a little yellow bit, and then clear glass was put over it. I hope that answers the question. But the vibrancy is part of the formula that goes into making it colored glass. And hopefully it holds that vibrancy while you're working with it. And as long as it does while you're working with it, then it stays that color. It doesn't really, it's not like fabric dye where it can be fugitive and disappear color over time. For the most part, glass does not change color over time, as far as I know. You can also get glass that glows in the dark, or rather it glows under a UV light. Uranium glass is still a thing. You just have to special order it if you want to work with it, and you have to be very careful when you're grinding and polishing it because, you know, glass dust is bad for you in general, and if you add radium or uranium to it. But yeah, so there's a lot of science that goes into getting the colors, and I don't know as much of it as I would like to know. That's one of the things I want to look at more, is how the colors get into things, what different metals and minerals go into them, and how to get different colors that do different things. So yeah, again, little yellow bird and bit of color. And again, any other questions, feel free to ask them and I will do my best to answer them. I enjoy talking about glass. And where was it? Ah, yes, I was unwrapping this probably a bird object. Ooh, you're gonna like this one. Observe. So this color is called lapis, and I love it. It is a lovely bright blue, and it's one of the main colors I'm using for my project right now. So I've got a couple of birds that have been made with that, and it's just a lovely little blue bird. I love making these things. They just make me so happy. They're such happy little shapes. It's literally just a little blob of glass, but with a beak and a tail, and it's cute. Tweet. I don't think this is a bird. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so this is a piece that is not finished yet. This is one that I'm not allowed to use the big diamond saw that we use for cutting glass on campus. That is something only our technicians are allowed to use, or our professors. So I have to ask one of them to cut things, and this is one of the pieces I could not get cut before I left because, you know, they were closing the campus. Where's my hand? There we go. So you can see this one had a foot put on it like some of the other pieces, but the foot broke when I was taking it off of the iron when I was finishing it. So it's sharp. I'm going to be careful with that. And eventually, though, this will be cut off at the bottom so that it'll sit flat there like all of my other pieces. And this was a test with some solid color in the bottom of it, of making the glass look like it has a liquid in the bottom of it. I actually think this one worked out pretty well. It's just not my most successful shape, in part because the bottom did that. You can see there's a bit of a chunk taken out of one side that I'll have to fix eventually. I may actually go in and facet this one, just grind a bunch of angles into it, something. But for right now, I'm just going to take one picture of it, and then it's going to go in a box of sharp things that need to be ground and polished later, because it doesn't stand up on its own, so it will have to be laying down. Yeah, I really like it, and when it works well, it's a really nice effect. I'm just going to set this over here for my packing later. Let me show you. I unwrapped this one yesterday, so I've not shown it. This is one of the pieces I've made that's a test piece that's worked really well, so you can see kind of how they're starting to go, where the liquid bubble a bit, so that the bubble reflects onto it. And this one also, interestingly, reflects light upwards and bounces back and forth. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm going for effect-wise, but that liquid effect is also really nice. So something in between this and that is what I'm going for with my pieces. And another little package wrapped up. I wonder what it could be. Probably a bird. It is. It's a bird. So this is another brown bird. It's got a really nice spiral in it and some bubbles. I do like spiraling up things. That's something I learned from my mentor out at the studio that I work out on the weekends. And I love the effect it has inside little birds. But again, these were made as color tests for the swirls, but then I ended up not going down the route of swirls for my project. So now I have lots of little birds. All right, another small package in this box. It's most likely going to be a bird. I have to say, I'm glad I like the sound that newspaper crinkling makes. If my cats were here, they would be going crazy from all the newspaper I've been balling up and tossing away. And it's a bird. So this one is that same, is a brown, and then it has a little bit of this blue-gray color in it as two separate stripes, and I was really pleased with how this turned out. So again, this was a test of, oh, there it is. I can see the camera now. This was a test of how the two colors would look together if I wanted to use them, and also of how they looked cut from the swirls. So you can see that cross section there is what one pattern tile would kind of look like if I made it with these colors. You can also see he has some nice bubbles, like a little constellation, and a cute little beak, and a cute little tail, and generally looks kind of like a songbird. Yes, fat bird. Oh, I'm seeing hearts. Yay. But yeah, so one more look at the fat bird. You can see he's also solid glass. He fits in the palm of my hand. I do enjoy making these. Let's see. Oh, I think there's one more bird in this box. Oh, this is a nice one. This one is a little blue and white bird. Again, the ones that are two colors from my solid color pieces that I've been working on have a little bit of this ribbon effect in them. You can really see the twist. There's his cute little face. I do like how these colors look together. Liz, once I am allowed to sell my work again, because I'm currently on a visa that means I can't be self-employed or own business interests, but once I start looking for homes for my birds, I will make sure to keep you in mind. See, this is what I was going to be doing this afternoon anyway, but it's quite nice to have it where I can at least sort of interact with people. You're welcome, Liz. And now there are two things in this box that are not birds. They do have a little bit of a bird shape to them because all of my pieces have a little bit of this birdiness to them, but these are not birds. I have to move the camera because this is heavy. So, this is potentially one of my final pieces. So this is a single one of my pattern tiles. And it's been made into this kind of graceful teardrop bottle form. You can see it still has its foot on it because this came out of the kiln on the day before they told us we were all having to leave campus. They tried at the university here to let us be in the workshops as long as they could before the government said, no, this is a serious enough situation that you have to close the workshops. So these have not been cold work. They've not been taken off their feet, but I'm really happy with them. Thank you. So you can really see the reflections in this. And that's what I'm going for, is that liquid and reflection and pattern. And this is one of the nicest ones I've made. Give me a moment. Let's see which one. Okay, so that. Okay, so this is a pattern tile that is from the same bar that this pattern tile came out of. So you can see the translucent bits here were originally this black looking stuff here. I'm going to see if I can move enough so that I can get some light shining through this. You can kind of see there's a little bit of red and blue and yellow there. So that this is going to eventually become one of these the next time I actually have access to a hot shop. But yes, so anyway, you can kind of see the effect I'm going for now. I think that this is the sort of shapes I'm making. They all have kind of this little lift in them from where I pull the stems. They get a little bit off center, but they tend to have very nice personalities to them, and the reflections are just so nice. I'm really happy with this one. I'm kind of sad that right when my pieces are starting to work well and I'm starting to get everything, again, to work and to be nice is when I have to leave the studios for an extended period of time, but I'm working with it. And when I come back, I will be ready to make more of these. Just going to take a few pictures of this one. And again, this, you have to imagine it kind of like this, because eventually this foot will be taken off of it. I'm really pleased with how this looks in the sunlight. Because the translucent colors do look black when they're thick, unless there's a lot of light coming through them. So this is one of the most successful pieces I've made so far. And hopefully, when I do get to go back in the studio and make more, they will be every bit as nice as this one, if not nicer. So I'll hold this one up to the camera again. so that you can all see it. To practice my Vanna White maneuvers here. And there's the inside and the reflection. You can see the pattern and how it's moved as it's grown. And then with this one, you can actually see on the bottom the pattern as well. If I move my arm a bit, you can see the translucency there. It's lots of fun. So there's that one. Which means this other heavy one is the sister to that piece and to the one that cracked. Here it is. So there's another one of these and one in clear that are sitting in the annealing kiln on campus because they were too hot to take out when I had to pack everything. So they're going to sit there until they let me back in on campus. But anyway, I'm also pleased with this one. Let's see, back up. There we go. So this has 4 tiles in it rather than 1. And it's not blown out as much as it could be. So in person, you can really see the colors. I'm not sure how well it's coming through on the camera. Oh, you can see them a bit there with the light behind them. And once again, this one has a bit less of that reflection effect to it. It's a little bit longer, but it does still have that patterning. And you can see, you can see inside the reflection of how the pattern is, where's that spot? How the pattern's changed and reflected inside it. It kind of does, yeah. That painted effect is really nice. I'm actually really surprised how nicely these have all come out. Let's see. You can see the bottom of the pattern there. So they can only get better from here. So yeah, and you can see with the neck here how that's been pulled up, and it's got a little bit of an unevenness to it, and the shape's a little bit uneven. It kind of moves like this, but I really like that slight asymmetry and gestural effect on it. So yeah, again, there's a slightly larger one of these that is sitting in the kiln on campus, and I don't know when I'll get to see it, but as soon as I do, I will be glad to show it to y'all because I'm so excited because it worked so well. See, this is why I'm concerned about potentially having my work in an online graduate show, because with my pieces, you need to see the reflections. potentially having them online as just still photographs might not be the best way to show what's going on with them, especially because, yes, I have taken a few photography classes before, but I'm not an expert at this, and I'm doing this in less than ideal circumstances. Ha! Empty box! Yay! I just have one more box full of things to empty, and then I'm done. Yay! So, without further ado, let's see what else I've got here. Just for an idea, this is how big the lid to this box is. There's a lot more glass to unpack. But I think I can just keep going, and again, as long as anybody's willing to hang out with me while I'm doing this, I don't mind keeping the camera on. So, wrap tip thing. So this is one of the pieces I made last year for my project. Let me take the label off of the bottom. And this is that same pattern as what I've been making for my pieces this term, but it's picked up just as a sheet on the outside of the bubble and allowed the different softness of the colored glass versus just the clear glass by itself makes it move more where the colored glass is when it's hot, because it gets hot and stays hot more. So these got really nice crisp patterns on the inside, wonky patterns on the outside, and I really, really like how this group of objects turned out. So yeah, this was the first version of the project that I'm doing, and this was one of the first ones that worked. Like, this one was one of the ones that really worked, really got a good result from it. I love the pattern on this and the colors. It's still a little sharp on the bottom because I haven't had time to cold work it, and I'm not going to be able to for a while, but yeah. So yeah, once again, there's that lovely thing. These all kind of ended up looking sort of quail-y to me, so like little quail or birds, but maybe I just like birds, I'm not sure. So it looks like this box has a lot of my stuff from last term in it, which is exciting. Aha. So the way I packed these, I don't need to unwrap this. But this is one of my best pieces from last term, as far as execution goes. So this is a bunch of pattern tiles with those swirled patterns in that same log cabin sort of style, rolled up into, picked up hot as a bubble, gathered over, and made into a bowl. And it's one of the nicest bowls that I've made. Really proud of this one. It does have a sharp on the bottom that I needed to take care of, but again, won't be able to do that till I can get back in the studio. And you can see on the inside, I don't know how well you can see this, there's actually a bit of texture from the difference between the color and the clear glass. And this one also has a little bit of sparkly green glass in it, which is the best way I can describe lime aventurine, is that it is magic and sparkly, but it's really hard for me to photograph or film it, so it really shows that effect. This is one of those ones that looks nicer in person, but it's a big bowl as well. Big. Yeah, so nice bowl right there. This thing is almost too big for my little stay-at-home infinity table, but it's working. It also makes really nice patterns down inside it on this one. When the light shines through it, it gets a really cool shadow effect. All right, so I'm coming up pretty close to the 2-hour mark on this live stream thing, and I still have a few pieces left in this box, and I have another box of pieces from first year that I'm gonna go through. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one more piece, and then after that I will end the stream for today. And hi, Helen. So after I do this next piece, I'm probably going to stop for the day just because it's getting to be about 2 hours and I do have written work that I have to do today. And then I will save the rest of the pieces in my box for tomorrow so that y'all can come and watch me unpack the last, hopefully, of the glass that I need to photograph. Sound like a plan? I hope so. And I hope that those of you who've been watching have been entertained by this, or again, at the very least, distracted, and maybe this is something that adds a little bit of bright, sparkly, wonderful things to your day, even if it's just me showing glass to the camera. So without further ado, one more bright, shiny thing. So unwrapping the newspaper. Ah, ta-da! Hi, Brenda. So this one is a test piece that I made when I was looking at the different colors. It's red. I really like the red color on this. This is the same red that I'm using for a lot of my projects. This is a shape that I've been trying to make. I'm getting there with my pieces once I start adding colors into them. But for this one, it was one of the first test pieces I made. This one went really well, and then suddenly after the day that I made this one and the yellow one that y'all may have seen yesterday, for some reason after this, I had trouble pulling the stems again, so I had to go back and practice that, which is why I have a lot of clear pieces. But anyway, this just nice red glass has a lot of Sharpie on the bottom because there were a couple of dings on it that I'm having to cold work and polish off. Almost done polishing them, but I do need to take that Sharpie off before I do anything else. So I'm just gonna clean that real quick and then I'll take some pictures of it. And for those of you who are still here watching, if you have any questions for me, do let me know so that I can hopefully answer them today. And if not, I will try to answer any questions you may have about my work, what I do, anything like that. I'll try to answer those tomorrow when I finish off the rest of this box. But for today, I'm going to take a few pictures of this piece, and thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. All right, so once again, lovely red thing. I do love this red color. And I'm hoping that it will come out nice in my bigger pieces that I'm making. So I'm going to put that one away. So today it's been unpacking some pieces from a lot of my test pieces from this term, a lot of birds, lots of birds. Let me show you. So birds that I unwrapped today. Bird. Bird. It's not a bird. This is a bird. Put these big ones towards the back here. I seem to have made a flock of birds. And more birds. It's quite comical, actually, just how many birds there are here. I did say there were a lot of birds. And I have a feeling I have a few more because I know I've got at least one more that's got red in it, and I don't see it here. So anyway, at least I have some company, both digitally with y'all, hanging out with me. And I have lots of little glass birds hanging out in my house now. Keep me company. But yeah, so I'm not sure if I will continue doing the live streams via Facebook's platform. Yes, thank you, Liz. It was so nice to hear from you too. You should message me so we can actually talk at some point because I miss you. But yes, I'm glad you like the birds, and it's been so fun showing things to people because I do like talking about my glass and glass in general any of the stuff that I'm working on. I'm shy, but I do like talking to people about the stuff that I do. So I don't know if next time I do the stream, it'll be on Facebook or if I'm going to have to switch to a different platform, just because the Facebook interface for this has been driving me crazy trying to get the streams to actually work. I'll try it again tomorrow, see if it works, and if not, I'll look at other options, because I do enjoy doing this. I really enjoy showing things to y'all. When I start working on my patchwork, I'll probably set the computer up next to my sewing machine so y'all can hang out with me while I sew things, because there's a lot of patchwork in my future once I finish documenting all of my glass. Yeah, so 2 hours is a chunk of time, but at least this gives me an incentive to actually get stuff done. Good birds. So love you all, miss you, hope you have a wonderful, safe rest of your day. Remember, there is good, beautiful stuff in this world. There are wonderful people. You are all wonderful people. I know most of you. You are wonderful. And whatever the world throws at us, we will survive this. We'll get through this. And we'll come out of it able to do better in the future, because we'll have had this experience. So forgive me. Those of you who know me well know me as being very positive, sometimes forcibly so, because I have to keep adding beauty and positivity into the world, or what's the point? Bye. It was nice talking to all of you.